Corporate accounts payable. Nina speaking.
Hello, Peter. What's happening? We have sort of a problem here. Yeah, you apparently didn't put one of the new cover sheets on the Trump classified documents.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. I forgot.
Yeah. You see, we're putting the cover sheets on all Trump documents before they go out. Did you see the memo about this?
Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just, forgot.
Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great. And, I'll go ahead and make sure you get another copy of that memo. Okay?
Yeah, no, I have the memo. I've got it. It's right.
Hello, Phil.
How do they get away with not going to prison for this? How do they do it? We have a lot to cover. We have some other clips. We have some other tweets. But, like, we have all of your evidence lined up. So feel free to just talk. You know, we have it all lined up for you. But, like, how do you stop from going to prison for this?
I don't know. And I'll tell you what, Benny, there's even more breaking news this morning since I posted that piece that you read. Thank you so much on Declassified Live, which is more filings and responses by Donald Trump and the defense team outlining this huge revelation filed Friday night by Jack Smith that admits that they've tampered with evidence, that they have misplaced evidence, it seems like. And of course, as I wrote, they brought these cover sheets to the Mar-a-Lago raid for the sole purpose, they say, as placeholders for the classified files that they found, but for the sole purpose also of creating that stunt photo of the crime scene to make it appear that that is how the documents were found in those boxes. That simply is just one more lie, misrepresentation, not just to the public, but to Judge Cannon as well. So we should have some more interesting developments this week. Last night, Judge Cannon put a hold on a very important hearing related to what classified material the defense was going to present at trial. She has put a hold on that deadline, and I suspect that she is right now preparing a blistering order about this case to Jack Smith, the recent revelations about mishandling evidence, and continuing to put this case towards trial, despite what we now know, prosecutorial abuse, tampering and doctoring evidence, and withholding it, all of this information from the defense.
So there are a couple of major issues that have come to light over the last 24 hours. One of them you tweeted about, which is Jay Bratt effectively lying and saying that they have no idea which documents were in which boxes. That effectively they dumped them on the ground and they're not sure which boxes were where. And this is, of course, important because the government was in control of all these boxes, right? Like, am I tracing that like that series of events correctly? So the government says, Donald Trump, we have all these boxes at the GSA. You got to take them. The so the government's shoving classified documents into Mar-a-Lago and then raiding Mar-a-Lago for the documents they put there.
Well, what's even more fascinating, and I think this is something that really has irked Judge Cannon from the beginning, the boxes that were taken out of Mar-a-Lago, about between 30 and 34 boxes, they were taken to the Miami FBI field office and then flown to Washington, where they were then housed at the hopelessly corrupt, compromised Washington FBI field office that at the time was being run by Stephen D'Antuono, fresh off of concocting the Whitmer Fednapping hoax in Detroit. So now these documents, these boxes, are in the hands of people we know have used the Washington FBI field office for years to go after Donald Trump, his associates, his family members, and of course now his voters. So this is where the documents were stored. What is amazing is the revelation, the confession by Jack Smith that no, they did not keep the contents of these boxes in the order in which they were found. Now, this is huge because you're not supposed to mess with evidence, right, Benny?
Yes.
And what Trump's past lawyer has said is the sequence of the items, the papers that were in these boxes were important to the defense because what it's supposed to demonstrate is how all these papers were in chronological order, that Trump didn't touch them, that they weren't moving them around, that that's how they were stored and filed and then sent to, transported to Mar-a-Lago. So that's just, and then Benny, amazingly, I think this is the biggest scandal. The alleged placeholders, the classified cover sheets that we saw in that photo, They used those as placeholders of where they found the classified document within the box. Jay Brett and Jack Smith just admitted that some of the cover sheets that they put as placeholders don't match up with the classified document that they took out of the box and then put into classified as secure location. How, and this is the defense's argument, how are we supposed to tell you what classified documents we're going to take to trial when we don't even know where some of them are? I mean, this is imploding in so many different ways. And I think we'll get more bombshell revelations this week.
What a clown show. I mean, it does seem like they have, much like the Fannie Willis case, there's almost more fruitful avenue to go after the prosecutors here for their malfeasance than there is to go after Donald Trump or the targets of the prosecutors. I mean, again, like how are you even able to like photograph these documents? Like who authorized the release of these photographs? Who throws classified documents onto the floor?
Right.
Who like splatters them all over the floor? I mean, if these are what they all claimed them to be, the nuclear codes, you're going to just toss them on the ground. But none of it stands to any reason. None of it makes any sense other than a years-long setup to do this to Trump on his way out.
Well, and like I say in my piece, who were the FBI agents who on site were making assessments related to the classification level of these files? I mean, were they intelligence experts? I assume that they had some level of security clearance, but how did they know to put that certain cover sheet on a certain file, paper clipped in exact same spot as you see now when you review the photo once again? How did they know that that was the accurate assessment? And furthermore, Jay Brett and Jack Smith later said that they were presumed classified and that the materials were then going to undergo a separate classification review by the intelligence community. So they could have misrepresented the FBI field agents who were at the Mar-a-Lago raid saying, well, this is top secret. This is human intel, putting this scary cover sheet on there. But we have no way of knowing if that's accurate, if the intelligence community backed up that on-site quick assessment. But the FBI doesn't care because they got what they wanted, which is that photo that shocked everyone into believing that that's how the records were found. Donald Trump knew that he had them, and that's why he was going to be charged with espionage and obstruction of justice.
So let me just rewind the clock here. The GSA, so the government had these boxes. Jack Smith's trying to hide the fact that the government had all these boxes in their possession. They shoved them into Mar-a-Lago. The FBI demanded that Donald Trump take all of them. That they misplaced and mishandled all the evidence inside of those boxes and misordered them, which would be tampering with evidence. Then they attached incorrect cover sheets for classification this is not how they were found. They attached these files to make it look more salacious in order to effectively tamper with the entire case, to bend the case. And then they lied to Judge Cannon. How does Judge Cannon continue to allow this case to move forward, given all of this evidence? I mean, I'm no legal expert, but you are able to see stuff like, I don't know, OJ. You're able to see like some of these cases hang on the thinnest possible margins of evidence. And if anybody's found tampering with evidence, then the whole thing blows up, right?
That's right. And rewind the clock. This is why Judge Aileen Cannon in September of 2022 appointed a third party to go through all the evidence that had been seized from Mar-a-Lago. This was an extraordinary step that she took so much heat for. But she was absolutely right, because what she said in September of 2022, I don't trust the Department of Justice to handle this evidence properly. You've already leaked information to the media. We already know, and this is something that Jack Smith and Jay Brett just admitted to again, we already know that privileged materials were passed from what they call the filter team to the investigative team. Investigative team meaning these were the agents who were looking at personal files, attorney-client privilege files that was not supposed to be passed to them. So that's why she appointed that special master. And unfortunately, the 11th Circuit appealed her order. They really look like the bad guys now because they wanted to help protect this investigation. And so that's just, Judge Cannon has a long history in this. She's not new to Jay Brett's and DOJ's machinations behind the scenes, this dirty case And so that's why she has been on this unsealing and unredaction, as we've talked about, kind of crusade. So the American people can see exactly how corrupt and dirty this is. But even I couldn't have imagined that they would be this irresponsible, this reckless, this corrupt to tamper with evidence central to this case. And then on the same token, be so arrogant about it and tell the defense attorneys, it doesn't matter that we moved these boxes around. It doesn't matter if the placeholder isn't exactly where we said it was in an FBI evidence index. We just told you that the classified documents was somewhere in this box, and that's all that matters. The arrogance of this team also is what continues to get them in trouble in Judge Cannon's courtroom.
So is it 100% accurate to say that the federal government tampered with evidence, that it potentially planted this evidence?
Well, going back to your point, Benny, and I think that this is important. There were boxes that were transported to Mar-a-Lago after Donald Trump left office. Then, to your point, the boxes that were kept at the GSA, General Services Administration, that is the agency that handles presidential transitions. So they had upwards of 100 boxes stored at a Virginia facility. And then after the 6-month transition period was over, they told Donald Trump's team, we have to get these boxes out of here. So then in September of 2021, they transported 2 pallets worth of boxes to Mar-a-Lago that were then loaded into the storage rooms at Mar-a-Lago. Now, the problem is the chain of custody, right? So if the boxes that, first of all, they sent to NARA voluntarily contained classified markings, if they came from the GSA, how is Donald Trump responsible for that? And more egregiously, if these were some of the boxes that the FBI seized during the raid in August of 2022 that were housed by the GSA, that the GSA oversaw and managed until they were transported, then how is Donald Trump willfully retaining classified or national defense information when these boxes were held at a government facility, transported, no evidence that they were even opened or Donald Trump ever looked at them, which he probably didn't? So how can he then be charged with espionage for willfully retaining national defense information from boxes that were not even in his custody for at least 7 months? So I think that's going to be another wrinkle to this whole scandal.
Finally, Julie, Kash Patel was on our program yesterday, and Kash Patel was, of course, Donald Trump's emissary with NARA, right? So he knows it better than almost anyone. And Kash says, no, Jack Smith needs to be arrested for this. Like based on your reporting and based on what we've seen out of the court, like it's Jack Smith who should probably be facing criminal trial. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think at some point he definitely should be investigated and charged, at the very least, prosecutorial abuse and selective vindictive prosecution. So should Jay Bratt. Keep in mind, Jay Bratt, who is the top DOJ official, led the investigation. We now know that he had meetings in the White House in 2021 with the associate of then Chief of Staff Ron Klain, probably Ron Klain himself. Why is the head of DOJ's counter-espionage unit meeting in the White House before any of this, the case really took off after Trump turned over those boxes, I'm sure that Kash talked about, in January of 2022. Jay Bratt has already been accused of prosecutorial abuse for threatening Walt Nauta, Trump's co-defendant, his attorney, with jeopardizing or pulling a judicial nomination pending in Washington, D.C. for the Superior Court if he did not successfully get Walt Nauta, one of Trump's closest personal aides, to flip on Trump and become a government witness. These people, when Donald Trump calls them thugs, he's actually probably being too kind.
Yeah. Producer Alex is saying that Kash said Judge Cannon should hold Jack Smith in contempt, which would be quite interesting, given the amount of contempts that Donald Trump is facing in New York, to have Jack Smith being held in contempt. Also, as Jack Smith has been reversed by the Supreme Court 9-0, the guy doesn't have a great record. Not operating from a position of strength.
Exactly right. I wouldn't be surprised if Judge Cannon, as I said, I will be standing by watching for her order related to the stay that she put on this very important hearing that was supposed to take place this week. I will wait for that order, and I would not be surprised. Look, she is no fan of Jay Bratt at all. And she has made that very clear. She kind of upbraided him at a hearing last week and told him not to say something sarcastic. And he said, oh, I would never do that. So there is no love lost between the two. And she is sick and tired of watching the dirty tricks behind the scenes and letting Jay Bratt and Jack Smith get away with it. So Cash is right. She very well could seek some sort of contempt of court for intentionally misleading, telling Judge Cannon last month that those boxes were in their original condition, and now coming back a few weeks later and admitting that was a lie.
Wow. Well, okay. Here's hoping. If you want the updates, and you want them fast, and you want to know actually about this case and how the sausage is being made, and how these people are Fargo level grinding themselves up in the sausage maker out of their own ignorance and stupidity, you got to follow Declassified Live. Julie Kelly, she is the best. Thank you so much for joining the program, Julie.
Thanks, Benny. Thanks for having me on.